Today we're going to be reading out Wikipedia's article for Space Pirates. Space Pirates is in the fictional concept, of which this particular Doctor Who serial is amongst. Space pirates are a type of stock character from science fiction, a take on the traditional seafaring pirates of history or the fictional air pirates of the 19th century. Space pirates travel through outer space. Where traditional pirates target sailing ships, space pirates serve a similar role in sci-fi media. They capture and plunder spacecraft for cargo, loot, and occasionally steal spacecraft, and kill or enslave the crew members and passengers. The archetype evolved from the air pirate trope popular from the turn of the century until the 1920s. By the 1930s, space pirates are recurring villains in the Buck Rogers comic strip. However, their dress and speech may vary. It may correspond to the particular author's vision of the future rather than their seafaring precursors. On the other hand, space pirates may be modelled after stereotypical sea pirates. There may be humans who originate from Earth or a specific race of alien. Space pirates are common in space opera and soft science fiction, including within Japanese anime narratives and erotica. In 1925, Hugo Gernsback's science fiction novel Ralph 124C 41 Plus featured a space pirate as a character. The book centers around a love story between the protagonist Ralph and a civil scientist, with a space pirate from Mars who also vying for her affections, part of the scientific speculation of the novel itself. Around the same time, author Henry Edward Warner, who composed his poems which were assembled in a 1929 book, Songs of the Craft, began writing various poems, including some about the so-called space pirate. 6 years later, in November 1935, Stanley G. Weinbaum's novel The Red Perry appeared in the science fiction magazine Astounding Stories. In the novel, the primary character, Perry, is a space pirate who has a base on the moon. Perry, that's different from Doctor Who, Fifth and Sixth Doctor's companion, Perry. Good old Perry. The novel was praised for imaginative backgrounds, although its romance was considered to be at the level of shop girl pulps, and writing which leaves much to be desired. David Bowman's helmetless spacewalk in 2001: A Space Odyssey was inspired by Frank Keene's escape from the pirate base in the novel. Really? Okay, that's according to Arthur C. Clarke, Astounding Days, a science fiction autobiography. Okay, that's not... fair enough. Because occasionally, someone will point out, oh, hey, here's this obscure piece of media that we only know about now and it wasn't big at the time. I bet it influenced this major work from like 15 to 20 years later. And it's like, if no one saw it then, what makes you think this major filmmaker or this major author, like when they say, oh, Huxley might have stolen Brave New World from some Polish novel from the 20s. Yeah, was it even translated into English then? I'm not saying Huxley couldn't have read Polish. He was a genius. But like, how do you know he read that? People would claim that he may have taken ideas or borrowed ideas from... I can't remember her name. There's this lady who wrote... I haven't read the novel. I've read about it. It's a similar novel from, I think, 1930. And Huxley knew her personally, it has been said. So they think, oh, maybe... So if someone wants to claim that book, I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe. But like some obscure Polish novel from the 20s, it's like, yeah, what are the chances? People go too far with this stuff, in my opinion. Like, if it did, it did, but, like, I don't know, people, like, love the idea of, like, oh, secretly this great artist was like, bwahaha, no one knows that I stole this idea from this, and I'm not going to tell anyone. Like, people say they're influences all the time, like, you know, Martin Scorsese said, oh, yeah, the Satyajit Ray's Arpajan, that's an influence on Taxi Driver. Like, he's not ashamed to admit that. So, like, why would other people be? Speaking of Satyajit Ray, there's a claim that there's an idea that Satyajit Ray had which eventually evolved into E.T. Apparently Ray himself would claim that, oh, Spielberg definitely stole the idea from that. And it's like, maybe? But, like, isn't, like, a boy and his, like, little alien pal, like, not the hardest idea to come up with in this world? I don't know. Hey, I'm sure Satyajit Ray's film would have been better than E.T. I would have loved to have seen the E.T. sequel, Night Terrors, because people say, oh, it's a good thing we never got that sequel. That would have been way better than the original. Like a dark gothic sequel, like a Return to Oz for E.T. It would have been great. Like, you guys are kidding yourselves. Maybe because they're very fond of E.T. I've never been the biggest E.T. fanatic. Look, I saw it as a kid, and I remember... I haven't seen it since I was 9 or 10. I remember almost everything about it, so I'll grant E.T.'s that, but... It's not the kind of film... I found it overly sentimental at the time. Like, I felt like I was being kind of cheated. Like, this was like kind of cheap emotionally. Though the scene where where the government comes in, with the biohazard suits, that's a great scene. That's a great piece of Spielberg. I like that kind of spooky Spielberg more than I like the sentimental Spielberg. I like the Close Encounters is a favorite of mine. Yeah, we're just expanding this episode out, aren't we? We're 5 minutes in. Yeah, I don't want this to be too long because then the copyright gets angry. Anyway, I also don't have to go on tangents too much, but I find it fun. Maybe someone else will as well. Following this, in 1940, Jack Williamson's story Hindsight, a space opera, included a character named Astrarch. He was a space pirate and dictator of the solar system, with the story focusing on an attempt by those on Earth to break free of his shackles. The 1950s brought with it a blossoming of science fiction, including a focus on computers, space travel, and outer space in general. This included Murray Leinster's novel The Pirates of Zan, which included a space pirate much like his typical maritime counterpart in appearance, Alfred Bester. Oh, he's a very strong author. Brian De Palma wanted to adapt one of his novels, and I would love to see De Palma compose more science fiction. I think Mission to Mars is underappreciated, though I understand why people have problems with it, particularly where science is concerned. Yeah. So Alfred Bester said it wasn't until Astounding Stories was rescued from an abyss of space pirates, mad scientists, that he was able to go back to the publication. By 1969, there was a turn to outer space on television, with heroes changing from cowboys to space pirate cowboys. 1 year after Turner patented his game, Stanislaw Lem, he's most famous for, he wrote the novels which Stalker is based on, and no, not Stalker, Solaris, and let me just double check. So Stalker was a short story from two guys, and they're also, I think the Stalker guys, they're also responsible for something else. Hold on. There's another famous acclaimed sci-fi film which they inspired. Yeah, Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. I think It Was Hard to Be a God was their other one. It has been adapted twice, both very good. Particularly the recent one, that's extraordinary. Oh, and Days of Eclipse as well. Yeah. Yeah, and these guys were, wow, it inspired 3 genius science fiction films. My goodness, or 4, Too Hard to Be a Gods. There's other adaptations of their work here. I haven't seen these. One by Konstantin Lopushansky, who's responsible for 1986's Dead Man's Letters, which is amazing. I haven't thought about that in a while, but I would love to talk about that here. I haven't seen this film, which is Dead Mountaineers Hotel, listed here by Grigory Kromonov. I don't think I'm familiar with him, but I mean, what an extraordinary poster. I mean, all these Eastern Bloc posters are phenomenal. Check out the poster for Dead Mountaineers Hotel 1979. You'll know which poster I'm referring to. Apparently this film's quite acclaimed. That's interesting. Estonian. Lovely. More tangents. Don't we just love this delightful show? Anyway. 1 year after Turner patented his game, Stanislaw Lem published the Siberiad. Well, Turner patented his game. But we're going to go on another tangent. Like, is there a game called the Siberiad? Turner. Who's Turner? Turner Classic Movies? It's not John Nathan Turner, obviously. Speaking on Doctor Who. Was Turner mentioned on this page? This is the only time Turner's mentioned on this page. Oh, well. Anyway, 1 year after this mysterious Turner patented his game, Stanislaw Lem published The Siberiad, a book in which 2 constructors named Trural and Klapashius are captured by a space pirate who pillages and hoards information. In order to be freed by him, they build something which interprets the movement of air molecules as information, and the pirate underestimates how much information is within the movement, and he's buried in a mountain of paper filled with useless information. That's great. That's good stuff. That's kind of Lafferty-esque. That's fun. Later in the 1960s, 6 episodes of the 6th season of the live-action television show Doctor Who featured a gang of space pirates, with the galaxy being described as spanned by a game between those who enforce the law and pirates like Dervish and Caven, who will apparently stop at nothing to continue their lucrative racket. You know what? We can just close it here, because we've just got come full circle back to Doctor Who in about 9 minutes, 32 seconds. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it very immensely. We'll continue this in the next one.